The modern road racing bicycle owes a huge amount to Tour de France. This ultimate test of human performance has driven bicycle manufacturers to make bikes that are ever faster, lighter, and offer that winning advantage in the toughest stage race in the world. And not only have bikes evolved over the last 100 years, but in just the last decade alone, the bikes have come a long way, as these two bikes demonstrate. This is a SuperSix Evo from Cannondale, and it's the same bike, the same name, but separated by 10 years of evolution. This is the original, launched in 2012, and this is a state-of-the-art 2022 model launched just 2 years ago. So same name, same bike. We are going to take a closer look at the changes and what has developed over the last 10 years and see how they perform out on the open road. Is this new bike better, faster and lighter than its old bike? Well, in this video we will find out. Before we compare the differences of these two bikes, this video is sponsored by Pedalsure. Pedalsure is an insurance company that protects you and your bicycle against theft, injury, damage and much more. And they're trusted by over 25,000 cyclists and rated excellent on Trustpilot. And you can get a quote instantly on their website right now using the link down below. Okay, let's dive in by casting our mind back to 2012 with this classic bike here. Back in 2012, this was a state-of-the-art carbon fibre race bike. It was an evolution of the original SuperSix, but a big step forward for the American company. The headline figure at the time was a high modulus ballistic carbon fibre frame that weighed just 695 grams with paint. So when this bike was developed, disc brakes weren't a thing, electronic gears were just arriving on the scene, and aerodynamics were still for the most part reserved for time trial bikes. So this bike made no attempt to be aero. It's all about being as light as possible, as stiff as possible, and also about comfort, which we'll talk about when we ride it in a bit. So simple round tubes, oversized bottom bracket, press fit of course, chunky fork, skinny rear stays, flattened chain stays for more comfort, and just a very simple, elegant looking bike. And that super lightweight frame in combination with a SRAM red mechanical group set, still one of the lightest group sets ever made, with rim brakes and carbon fibre wheels, carbon handlebar, stem and seat post, means a weight without pedals for a size 56 of just over 6.3 kilograms. So light by standards of 2012, but still light by today's standards. And while this bike does look fairly old-fashioned compared to the modern road race bike we'll show you in a moment, it does have a passing similarity to the brand new Specialized Athos, and that's no mistake. Both bikes, it turns out, were designed by Peter Denk, so sometimes round tubes just work. Well, this bike couldn't be any more different if it tried, could it? What a different appearance this bike offers. So that original 2012 Evo lasted for quite a few years, went through several changes, including a change of disc brakes as well. But in 2019, just a few short years ago, they gave it a ground up redesign with a big focus on aerodynamics, integration, and wide tires with disc brakes as well. So same name, but very different frame design. Now the most immediate change is the graphics. Very pared back logo design, nice colour as well. I think that's a real improvement over the last 10 years. You can see a clear focus on aerodynamics in every part of this bike, starting with a handlebar, which is very flat and aero bladed with an aero stem, and all the cables and hoses are inside the handlebar and stem, go straight into the frame. So we don't have the same mess, that same jumble of cables like we had on the old bike. And then the fork, the frame are all aero profiled as well. Camtail down tube, camtail seat tube, aero seat post with an internal seat clamp, not external like the old bike. And then at the back of the frame we have the dropped rear stays, a big departure from the old bike. They're still really skinny as well, and we have the same flattened profile chain stays to try and give some comfort, some compliance over rough roads. This bike is designed entirely around disc brakes. There is no longer a rim brake option like there used to be, and we have through axles and flat mount brake calipers. And a result of all the aero work is a frame that is a staggering 30 watts faster than the old bike. So round tubes might look good, but definitely not aero. 30 watts is a massive saving, and that is a result of the Tour de France, pushing bike manufacturers to make bikes that are faster to meet the highest speeds in the pro peloton. However, More aero it may be than an old bike, but lighter it definitely isn't. The frame is heavier as a result of the aero focus, and while this isn't an apples to apples comparison because we have the second tier Shimano Ultegra Di2 group set and deep section wheels, this bike, size 56 without pedals, weighs 7.4 kilograms. So a kilogram of difference in the favour of the old bike. So over 10 years, we've had that big push for aero, wide tyres, disc brakes, but the weight has definitely gone up. So given this bike is more aero, but heavier than the old bike, is this bike faster or slower out on the open road? Well, there is one way to find out. Despite this bike's age, it still rides extremely nicely. Doesn't feel old at all. It still feels sharp, lively, alert, and ready to attack any hill or corner. You really feel the lack of weight straight away. Just leaving the car park, right around the corners at low speed, it just feels so lively, just wants to get up and going, get up to full speed. Now, when this bike launched 10 years ago, it was an incredible point in the evolution of the road bike, and this bike really showcased the best technology of the time. And any worries that a 10-year-old carbon fibre race bike doesn't have the same performance and stiffness and structural integrity as it did when it first launched, just not true at all. It still feels just as good as the first time I rode it all those years ago. And today it's clear it has stood the test of time extremely well. If road bikes hadn't developed any further than this, I'd still be happy. It still has all that performance you want from a road racing bicycle. But the other thing, as an owner of this actual bike and riding, is at a time it combined that low weight, high stiffness, but also amazing comfort for the time. And today, it still feels very smooth. And riding along this road today, which admittedly is pretty decent actually, not many potholes or cracks to worry about, this bike is still silky smooth, even with 25mm wide tyres. Now, on a rougher road surface, a modern road bike definitely has the edge. Wide tyres for the main parts, but also have developments in frame design and seat post design, meaning a modern road bike ultimately is a smoother ride if you have to deal with crumbly road surfaces, which I do back home in the Cotswolds. It's still a remarkably lovely bike until you come to stop, and then the rim brakes, in my opinion, aren't as good as the hydraulic disc brakes on the new Evo. Does 10 years of development mean a better bike then? Well, unquestionably, this bike is so much faster. Oh my goodness me, this bike is rapid. The aero improvements of the bike are noticeable straight away. Even at low speeds, this bike feels easier to pedal along the road. And at high speeds, use my power meter, the effort required at 35k an hour is much lower than the old Evo. So unquestionably, this bike is faster. The aero improvements, you can feel them. It's so much quicker. And that really is a big takeaway of 10 years of development on this Evo platform. Aero developments have meant a faster bike. Great for the pros and great for you and I. But the other big difference from riding this bike is how much smoother it is. Now, that old Evo, pretty smooth for the most part, but this bike is so much smoother. I mean, a big difference in smoothness. It definitely isolates you from the road surface way more than the old bike. This new Evo just feels so much more refined than the old bike. It's quieter, it's smoother, it's just a nicer riding experience. And that's something I didn't really expect to take away from riding the two bikes today. How much more refined and high quality this product feels compared to the old bike. And this bike even has space for wider tyres, even better comfort if you have to deal with rough roads, which most of us, it's fair to say, do. The other more measurable difference is the weight. On the scales, this bike is nearly a kilo heavier than the old bike. But out here on this rolling road, I can't really feel the weight difference. That refined ride quality and the aero performance more than make up for the weight. Now, if you're riding up Alpe d'Huez or Galibier, you might take the lighter weight. But for most riding here in the UK, on everything but the steepest, longest climbs, I'll take the aero and take the refined ride performance every day of the week. And the other big difference on this bike are the disc brakes. And what a difference hydraulic disc brakes are to rim brakes on carbon fibre wheels. Yes, the rim brakes work okay. I know you still have lots of fans, but I'm definitely in the disc brakes are better camp. And this is more subjective, but I think the new bike is better looking than the old one. Nicer paint job, pared back graphics, and a more modern, sleek looking bike. Although I'm a sucker for simple round tubes, I think the bike definitely takes it. But let me know what you think down below. So there we go then, 10 years of evolution, all thanks to the Tour de France being the driving force behind manufacturers producing ever better bicycles. But which is better? Well, I think it's clear from the video so far that the new bike is better in every way. If you ride that bike in isolation, you'll be blown away with how nicely it rides, even by today's very high standards. But the new bike is a much nicer product. So, which bike am I riding today on this lovely sunny day? Well, I think it goes without saying, the new one. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time.